Hey Karina, since we couldn't conference yesterday in class, I am recording my feedback for you. Once you feel like you've gotten enough feedback or you've listened to the video enough times, I'm happy to delete it from my YouTube channel if you want me to. Okay, so I just want to look at format first. Up here in your header, it's actually reverse. It should say Sharma and then the page number, so you just need to rearrange that. And then down here, you just want to spell out language, okay? Other than that, everything looks good. Is this an actual tab? Because that looks a little small to me, but if you tabbed over, I think you might have spaced. So if you spaced over, then you want to delete that and then tab over once. Okay, so I'm going to start reading and talk to you about my comments and feedback and just general insights about your writing that you might want to consider before you turn in your paper, okay? Would you like it if our doctors were not knowledgeable about the medicine they prescribed, did not know how to give a shot to their patients or how to efficiently treat their patient? So my only concern about this is that you use the word you. And the reason why we want to avoid that is because it sounds incredibly juvenile. When I read that, I say, would Mrs. Matheny like it if doctors were not knowledgeable about the medicine they prescribed? Well, I think the problem with this is, of course not, right? And I know that's what you're getting at, but we want to make sure that we are keeping it as formal and mature and college level as we possibly can. Unfortunately, this is happening all over the world. In the Journal of Anatomy, Marina Swandon and Gabrielle Finn discuss the ignorance of medical students, which have been caused by the laziness of professors to teach their students useful material that the students can use when they become physicians to consult their patients. The medical students are tested on irrelevant material that will not help them in their medical profession. This will negatively impact the students because they were studying topics that will not help their careers and will prevent them from successfully handling their patients' health concerns. The medical students remain oblivious because the professors do not test them on important material they need to know. Rather, they are tested on unrelated topics that are not directly relevant to the academic ambition of the subjects. This demonstrates the unskilled and unaware phenomenon in real-world, high-stakes, practice-related setting. Professors fear that the students will fail their class, not meet the GPA requirements, and they will not be able to become physicians because they are not teaching testable material. Professors start changing up grades. That's really casual. What other vocabulary could we use here? Okay. Professors start inflating grades. Okay. To ensure that more students are passing their exams and graduating from medical school, whether they deserve that grade or not. This is caused by grade inflation. Grade inflation is awarding of higher grades than students deserve to maintain a school's academic reputation or as a result of diminished teacher expectations. Grade inflation has been used. Okay, so right here, you don't need to capitalize the I. The only reason the G is capitalized is because it's the first word of the sentence. Grade inflation has been used for about 100 years, but the use has increased over the past few years. Can you give me some specifics here? The fact that you use years twice in this sentence at the end of a phrase feels a little clunky to me. So I wonder if you could reword it. Grade inflation has been apparent for the last 100 years, but has increased recently, or something like that. Until the Vietnam War, the most common grade in college campuses was a C. In 1973, the most common grade rose up to a B. Could you reword this instead of rose up to? Okay, could we say the most common grade was a B or something like that? Because I think that rose up to just sounds really informal. By the 1990s, A was the most common grade at any four-year college campus and at community college. So if this is your citation right here, I notice that you have it without quotation marks here and then with quotation marks here. If this is the title of an article, it should be in quotation marks every single time. But you should only use the title of an article if you don't have a writer's name specifically for that article. So if you know who wrote this article, please put their last name here instead of the title. The second thing is that right here you have a period before the citation, but the punctuation should always come after it. So you need to delete this part. As the years have passed, the importance of grades has changed. In the Vietnam War, this needs to be capitalized, grades were not a useful tool for motivation, were not a valid means of evaluation, and created a harmful authoritarian environment for learning. But after the 1980s, grade inflation has increased because of the emergence of consumer-based culture in higher education. The importance and necessity of education has rose because it is considered the basis of employment that ensures further success. Colleges and educational facilities fail to realize that inflating their students' grades may help their GPA, but if it fails to help the students learn the required material that they need to know for their jobs, because of the increase. Okay, so my question here is, where is your citation for all of this information? You have a citation here, but there's nothing down here, and this doesn't sound like your own writing, and it's information that you would need to cite from somewhere else, okay? Grade inflation is being used all around the world. The universal phrase, "you earn your grades," is absolutely false in most circumstances. Starting from elementary school, teachers give out A's and B's to students to make the students feel better about themselves. The students may or may not deserve those grades. All right, you need some proof here, big time. You should have accounts or scenarios or anecdotes that you have found that prove this to be true, because without that evidence, your audience isn't going to believe you. So, for example, as a teacher, I don't just give out grades to make kids feel better about themselves. I assign scores to students' work, and that is how they earn their grade. So I think that you need to clarify, or you need to add evidence. Grades are supposed to be based on student performance that is compared to pre-established levels of competence. You need a space right here. But after the use of grade inflation, teachers are giving out good grades to ensure they do not fail. But if the teachers have high expectations from the start of the school year, and then the students should work hard to get around those expectations. But if the teachers have high expectations, this comma, it seems weird to me. But if the teachers have high expectations from the start of the school year, this is where your comma needs to go. Then the student should work hard to get around those expectations. The reason why the comma needs to move is because all of this is part of the same phrase. You don't actually have two separate phrases here. This is all connected, and then this is all connected because you have a before and after scenario. We are encouraging the fact that children can get whatever grade they want without putting in an ample amount of effort that is needed for every class. Who is we that you're talking about? You and me? Teachers are making it easier to get good grades by keeping the grade scale flexible and achievable. The difficulty comes when students go through higher studies like college, graduate school, medical school, law school, etc. Okay, you need to cut out etc. We don't use that abbreviation in formal writing. So you could say the difficulty comes when students go to higher levels of education like college, graduate school, medical school, or law school. When they get to their college years, it is harder for students to get to the standard that professors want because they are used to being babied around. All right, again, you need evidence of this. What is an anecdote? What is a story that you read? As a person who has not been to college yet, what proof do you have of this because you have not experienced yourself? Teachers have a tendency of applying more vigorous standards with advancing grades, or that student achievement drops in later years. We are encouraging our students. Who is we? Okay. Who are you? This is supposed to be written from your perspective, but clearly this was not written by you. So who is the we we're talking about? So we are encouraging our students to fail in their classes. The purpose of grades is not being well demonstrated. If the purpose of grading was to rank and discriminate poor learners from good learners, then the closer the grades approximated a bell-shaped curve, the better. Grades are distributed for the students to know where they are, what they need to learn, and improve on. But if teachers are just giving out grades for the sake of it, the whole purpose is defeated. All right, so I think that, like, in the beginning, when you talked about the history of grade inflation, you talked about it in the 1970s and then the 1980s, 1990s, but you didn't actually give me, like, the history of grades. So I think what you need to do is add at a certain point, like, what is the purpose of grading? How long have we been grading? Have we always given out grades? Or was there like an end of the course exam and that's how you earned your grade? Or was it just assumed that because you sat through a semester or a year of a class, then you just moved on to the next one? So I think you need some explanation here. All right, universities are giving more importance to their prestige than their students' education. At one of the most prestigious colleges, Harvard University, you need a comma right here, the professors are inflating the students' grade to make their school look good. In 2013, the most frequent grade was an A-. So my question for you about this source right here is, I don't think that this is a person's last name, so this needs to be either italicized because it's a book, or it needs to be in quotation marks because it's an article. While it is believable that the kids at Harvard and while it is believable that the kids at Harvard and hardworking and diligent think this is supposed to say are, it is not plausible that the entire school got the same grades. In contrast, some schools are not awarding high grades to their students. They believe that not every child is smart enough to earn A's. According to Harvard professors, grade inflation. Okay, what is this? Like, you need to explain what it is, but I would really encourage you to not go out and specifically reference an essay or a title within your writing, because that does not make you sound as confident or credible. Instead, use the rest of it, like you said, to prove your own point instead of the point that this publication is trying to make. This proves that the school system is corrupt. Only a few should get certain grades because only a few can earn it. This is absolutely false. Students should earn the grades they get. The grades should not be given to them. We are losing the purpose of giving grades. To let the student know what they understand and what topic they are lacking in. The importance of grades is losing the purpose of learning. Well, then what is the purpose of learning? I think you need to create a demarcation between grades and learning. I think that point is valid, but you don't really explain that anywhere else. And I think that if you were to explain it, would make your argument much stronger. Okay, so I'm skimming over the use of grade inflation will not only... So here's the thing. You say the use of grade inflation as if it's very intentional. So it's not like I say, you know what, I'm going to go to Walmart and pick up some grade inflation, right? But that's how this sounds right here, is that I'm getting ready to use this device. But truthfully, it's a change in mindset. I don't think it's ever very intentional, other than like, oh, look at this kid who didn't do the work or didn't do great work but was a hard worker. I'm going to bump them up, right? So it's not something that you actually use. Professors teaching freshmen and sophomores in college have a tendency of setting their standards very low to ensure that their students earn higher grades. This pattern suggests that those who received acceptable grades as sophomores reacted negatively to the lower grades they received as juniors, and this helped impel them from dropping out. Okay, well, why is that important? Why do colleges not want people to drop out? Clearly, it's for funding and for the money that their tuition brings in. The other thing, Karina, is that you need to be very careful with statements like this, as far as professors teaching freshmen and sophomores in college have a tendency of setting their standards very low. You need some proof. Like, where is that evident? Or give me a case where that was proven, okay? All right, so if I go to the end here, I want you to really go back and look at your essay as a whole and think about what kind of things do I need to clarify, what do I need to add, what words do I need to fix, and make sure that you have enough evidence to truly prove your argument. I think that you have a very compelling argument, but it's not entirely proven. I think that you have... You've made some points, but you need to back them up with evidence, okay? So use that feedback to go forward. Your works cited page looks great, so you have a little bit of work to do. Let me know if you have any further questions, and once you are good to go with this video, I am happy to delete it off of YouTube for you, okay? Have a good night.